Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to VBA with Microsoft Excel. So in today's class, we are going to talk about we talked about the macros in the past few classes, and in today's class, we're going to talk about what exactly is behind all those macros. So when we're talking about a macro, what exactly is a macro? So basically a macro is a set of actions that we have recorded in order to reproduce it and to make a project a little bit easier. And basically it looks pretty simple at first, but when we try to understand what exactly is inside of a macro, it's a little bit more complex. And inside of a macro, there is a set of code that is written down to be able to run it. And it's not always simple. Sometimes it's really complex to make really simple actions. And basically all this is programmed in VBA. And in today's class, we are going to talk about all the interface that is around all this. And we're going to take a look at the code, basically what it looks like. We're going to see where the macros are exactly and basically talk about the VBA interface and where you will write down your code. So pretty simple. First thing that I'll ask you guys to do is simply go into Developers tab. You can click on it and basically go into Visual Basics right here. So it should look something like this. So normally if you have nothing right there, this simply means that you have no macros that are saved. That's the only reason. So if you have a macro, you should have something right there. So you would have module 1, module 2, module 3. If you have a lot of, depending of how much macros you guys have. And usually you should have your code right there. And then another thing, basically when you want to add another module or create another macro, how exactly do you do this? It's pretty simple. You just go in the Insert tab right here and you click on Module because you want to create another macro. And then a module will appear. And inside of this module, you can simply write down something. So you can write down, your code. So here we'll have, for example, code example. So then I can run it if this code was valid. But in this case, it's just an example, so we are not gonna try to run it. So this is for the first part. Now, basically you understand that the code is going here and all the modules are basically the macros that you guys have. So basically all the macros that we have created in the past few classes are simply stored right there inside of all the modules that we have. So as you can see, all the macros are right there. So if we look at the first one, we have practice macro, which is one of our macros. We have practice macro 2. We have final practice. We have all the macros that basically we have created. And it's possible to run our macros from here. So basically if we run our macro, as you can see, it's automatically appearing right there, which as you can see here, we have one of our macros. And in this case, it's the macro that we have created in, I think, the past few classes, in the past 2 classes. And basically, this is the final project that we had. So basically, this is how you run your macro. This is how you stop your macro. If you guys have basic knowledge of Python and you worked with PyCharm, normally you should understand it. Otherwise, this is how it works. And don't worry, in the next few classes, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about it. All right, so basically those are the basics of Visual Basics. So just understand your code goes here, and this is where you will program your macros. Your modules are your macros that you have created, and all your sheets are stored right there. All right, next thing that is pretty important to understand will be the immediate window, which is right here. And in other programming languages, usually, when you're working with PyCharm, you have a terminal, and basically this is pretty much like a terminal, but it's a little bit different. Basically, what you can do in this immediate window is testing out your code. So let's say you have wrote down a little macro or a little set of code, and it's possible to test it inside of the immediate window, which is, in my opinion, pretty cool. So you can test your macro, then write it, integrate it to your code. Another thing that you can do, you can, for example, ask questions to, to Excel. An example of questions that you can ask is, let's say, for example, what is in a certain case? What is the type of values that is in a certain case? So for example, if it's letters, if it's numbers, if there is nothing, you can basically ask Excel those types of questions, which is once again pretty cool and can be useful in certain situations. So how exactly do you generate this window? Because some of you will not have it. So pretty simple, you simply go on view and you click on immediate window, and basically it will automatically appear and you should have it there. All right, next and last thing that we are going to talk about today, but it's really important, of course, it's the object browser, which is the list of all the libraries that we have into VBA. So what exactly is a library? So when we're talking about the library, we can, for example, think of the math library inside of Python, or all other libraries that are present in Python. Basically, in Excel, it's pretty much the same thing. So if you want to do complex applications or complex use of VBA, you need libraries to be able to have access to certain calculations or certain functions. Basically, this is exactly what it is. And as you can see here, you have plenty of different things that you can do. And it's all useful in the VBA programming language. So for now, those are really the basics that you guys need to understand for VBA. Well, basically for the introduction of the platform where we are going to write down the code. In the next few classes, we are going to write some lines of code. So pretty simple. If you want to save your project, it's going to be here. If you want to come back, it's going to be here, or you just click on Control Z. To run your code, it's going to be there. And well, you can import, export your file. So basically, as I said, those are really the basics. I don't want to give too much information once again. But for the moment, this is exactly what you need to start out the programming part. So that's it for us, guys, and see you all in our next class.